Hello, this is Alexa, and you are listening to the Wishbeads podcast. I'm so happy you tuned in. Today, we have a very special guest, Arielle Ford. She is a celebrated love and relationship expert. She's an author, a speaker, and her mission, and I love this mission because boy, oh boy, do we need it now, is find love, keep love, and be love. She has written over 11 books. She's an international bestseller. And her book, SOULMATE SECRET, Manifest the Love of Your Life with the Law of Attraction, is a personal favorite. I have to say, Wishbeads is all about manifestation, right? And you may have heard of the law of attraction. Now, one thing I will tell you is that many people have misconceptions about the law of attraction. So in particular, I'm excited for today's podcast because I think it really breaks up a lot of the myths about it, and more specifically, how you can integrate the law of attraction and explore how this works in your own life. Now, we are also specifically talking about love. And here we are. It's the summer. We are out of a crazy year and a half that it's been. And so I'm sure that everybody is feeling all the feels, and you may have love on your mind, whether it is new love or maybe thinking about a new type of love. The key is that whatever you are thinking and feeling, you are attracting. So I hope that today's podcast will inspire you to tune in and take a little bit more of the driver's seat role in your life about how you want to feel each and every day. And that's with yourself or with a significant other in your life. So without further ado, because I'm just so excited for you to hear this podcast interview, here is Arielle Ford. Arielle, I am so excited to have you on the Wishbeads podcast. Thank you so much for saying yes.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. And here's my wish beads. Can you see?
I do. What is that? Is that the polished labradorite?
It's dark gray.
Oh, it's a matte labradorite. Ooh, I love that, which is for trust and intuition. And I actually must say, I want to confess that when you and I connected, I was so touched that you were already a Wishbeads fan. It's I still think of my company as, a little company, like, oh, maybe people find it. But when, we already had connected. So thank you for finding Wishbeads. And of course, knowing your work, it is such a perfect fit.
Oh, no, it's perfect for me because I'm always having to buy gifts, and it's the perfect gift. It's so me. It encompasses everything that I believe in, that I live, that I teach. So thank you for inventing it.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Well, as everyone probably knows, that Wishbeads is based on manifestation, the power of intention, the law of attraction. Can you take us back a spell? Because I know that this is your jam, and give me a little bit of the story of how you came to this sort of study and how it's been sort of a driving focus in your teaching and your writing.
Yes. So on September 12th, 1984, I got on a plane from Miami to Los Angeles to completely start a new life. And somebody gave me a book to read on the 6-hour flight, and it was called Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain. And I remember the date because it was a life-changing book. It was where I learned that I actually could have some input to my destiny, to how my life was going to go, that I could co-create with the universe. Because when I landed in LA, I had exactly $400, 3 letters of introduction, and one friend who I could stay with for 10 days before she moved to New York. So I needed to encompass everything that I learned very quickly. And I'm a fast study. So I'll just tell you that within 10 days, I found a job, I found a great place to live, and I found a new best friend because I didn't have any other friends. Mine had just left. And it was the beginning of my entire life. I decided from that point forward, I would study everything that I could about how to co-create my beautiful life with the universe. And I'm still, to this day, I'm still a student. 36 years later, I am still a student.
I love that. I mean, and I've heard these stories, right, where life presents you with a challenge. I actually think Tony Robbins has a very, kind of similar story in the sense that you get to a place where you really have to be all in, that because the circumstances are such that maybe there's no safety net.
Yeah.
So suddenly you're given a proposition for something, but because of the circumstances, which can be challenging. And first of all, I love the idea that like you have a letter of introduction, makes you realize how much life has changed now.
Right.
But it's so beautiful that one, without that safety net, you actually had the liberation of like, in a weird way, having no other choice. Like, I have to do it. I have to commit 100% and see if this works. But also, I really want to talk about that moment where, because I'm sure a lot of people have felt this, where you're reading something or you're watching something and you get that kind of what I'd call a full body yes experience, where, you remember the date, you remember the book, and all of a sudden things fell into place. What's that experience for you? And does that resonate with you?
Yes, and it's happened actually many times in my life over the years. It wasn't just a one-time thing. And at the time that I was reading the book, I was hoping it would work. But of course, I had no evidence yet. I had no idea. I just remember that the part I took away that I think most people miss, and which is why they complain that the law of attraction doesn't work for them, was the part about having to be able to feel in every cell of my body that what I asked for was already mine. And I remember sitting down, like even that first day that I was in LA, I needed to get a job, but I had no idea what kind of job I really wanted.
Wow.
But what I did know is I knew how I wanted to feel when I woke up in the morning. I wanted to wake up every morning really excited to jump out of bed, excited to go to an office where there were friendly people and I got to really show off my skill set and my talents, and I would be paid fairly for the work that I did. I just didn't know what kind of office it was in. And because I had those 3 letters of introduction that I told you about, I got to meet with some very high level people who looked over my resume and said, oh, you should go here, or you should go there. And it all, fell into place really quickly.
Yeah. I love the idea of the intentions about how you want to feel, because that clarity is so unique. It's almost like your own unique stamp. And yet it feels like society so many times is almost tricking us to feel the fear or to focus on the fear. What if it doesn't work out? What if I, take this big risk and I have to go back to my friends, or I have to borrow money, and so we start focusing on that, right? And we start focusing on that narrative, that story, those feelings. And then guess what? We experience more of exactly what we're focusing on. And so this leap of faith, let's talk about that for a minute. This idea of faith. Sometimes we hear the word faith and we think it's religion, or people have different feelings about, quote, spirituality. But this faith is almost that deeper permission, from my lens anyway, of saying yes to yourself, giving permission to yourself. And
no, for me, it's all about faith and trust, because especially in the times we're living in right now, we're living in a time where there's 7.4 billion people, and there's not one single person you can trust to have the right answer, right? That's what we've learned in the last year. Nobody knows. Nobody can tell you, is the vaccine going to work? Isn't it going to work? Can I still spread the thing? Am I ever going to get out of my house again? Nobody knows. So, the last year for me has been this having to live my faith and trust, and know that I don't need to know. I don't need to know how things are going to turn out. I just need to know what a thing I quote to myself every day is my favorite line from A Course in Miracles, which is, in this moment, I have everything that I need.
Let's say that again.
In this moment, I have everything that I need. And in every moment, that's always true. Because what is it that we really need? We need air to breathe and water to drink and a place to sit. And I don't think there's anybody tuned into us right now who has lacked air, water, or place to sit.
So true.
Right?
And there's so many miracles that are happening in our body. Like as I am talking to you and you're talking to me, our bodies are doing billions of things to sustain life below our level of awareness, which also makes me think there are so many things happening. below our level of awareness. And that's when we sort of step into that unknown place called co-creation. So let's talk about
Well,
co-creation.
I want to talk just for a second about the place you just mentioned, the unseen plane. Because what I spend my days doing is working with single women who want to manifest a soulmate life partner. And the way I start with them is we have a quick talk about quantum science. Because in quantum science, we know a couple of things. One, we know that there is no time. There's no past, there's no future, there's just this now moment. Another thing that we know is that we all coexist in a field. We're already connected to everything and everybody. So if you think about it, in this now moment, in the field, on the unseen plane, you are already connected to your soulmate. He or she is not missing. You can start a relationship right now in this moment on the unseen plane. And I have a whole feelingization process I give away on my website to do this. It's called the Golden Cord Feelingization, where you start the relationship today.
Oh, I love that. It's been an interesting sensation this past week because obviously I've come off of a year of my entire family being together under one roof. And I have two teenage boys. And one of them is not here right now because he had an opportunity to go away with another family, one of the families that we've actually been hanging out with all year. And I've actually never been apart from him for this long. It's only halfway through, but it'll ultimately be 3 weeks. And I was curious as to how I would feel, And what I thought was so fascinating about my feeling my way through this is, number one, I'm so happy for him. He's having a blast. This is great. But when I have that moment of feeling, maybe missing his presence, I actually think that this is what I do is I just connect with our feeling of connection.
Right.
I just connect with his energy wherever he is. And then it fills me up. And it's not like this kind of clawing codependent feeling. It's just a connection. And
Right.
I would say it's similar to, my grandmother who passed away, or a friend that I haven't spoken to in a while that pops into my mind. And so one choice is, I could call her, or I could also just connect with her.
Right.
And I've always been fascinated by this. Some people may think of this as the Akashic field too. Is this the same field that you're referring to?
Well, there is only one field. So there's different names for it, right?
Okay, good.
There's different things you can do. Like I see the Akashic Records as a library. So that library does exist in the field, but I love the way you described your connection with your son, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're connecting in this now moment in the field because you have this energetic connection already established. And yes, it'll be so much better when you can wrap your arms around him and hug him and all of that, but he's not really missing.
No, he's not.
This is where people get all screwed up with the law of attraction, because they're always in this state of something's missing. The partner's missing, the money's missing, this is missing. And then when you're in the state of missing, all the universe knows what to do is give you more of the feeling of missing. And then people are like tearing their hair out. But I asked for money, So
you're focused on your bills.
Right? Yeah. Like, how's it going to get paid if it's not my bank account? Well, the same way that I know the love is there, the abundance is there. Yeah. You have to go into the field and reconnect with how abundant you really are. Yeah. And it doesn't matter where the money's coming from.
Yeah. And it may totally surprise and delight you where it comes from.
Yeah.
So how do you describe to your readers, to your clients, to, your fans, what is your description of the law of attraction?
I have a really simple basic 101, which I tell people. It's the law of attraction states we draw to us the people, places, and experiences that match our state of being. So if our state of being is I'm loved, I'm lovable, I'm surrounded by love, that will be your reality.
Mm.
If you're living in, I'm a loser when it comes to love, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too damaged, all the good ones are taken, that too will be your reality. And the tricky part is that we're human beings, so doubt does come up, fear does come up. We should never deny it. We just don't need to luxuriate in it. So when the doubt comes up, oh, I'm going to be broke, the money's never coming. I tell people, give yourself 3 minutes to go down the rabbit hole, set a timer. And for 3 minutes, just torture yourself with the most horrific negative thoughts you can. It's true. I'm going to be a bad lady. I'm never going to have money again. I may starve to death. I don't deserve money. Money's never coming. And if you do that, you can't do it for 3 minutes. What will happen is you're going to start laughing, because if you're really earnest about it, your sane part of your brain is going to kick in and say, well, no, my friend Sandra's never going to let me starve. My neighbor so-and-so is never going to let me be put out on the street. But we have to, like a pressure cooker, we have to let the steam off.
Yeah.
Right?
Instead of just burying it and being like, those are the thoughts, I'm just going to think them secretly, but I'm going to think them secretly about 500 times a day.
Right. And then they ooze out of you.
Yeah, they do. There's an energy that even if you're thinking it, in a way, of course, we don't want people to hear our thoughts, but if your thoughts are amazing, maybe you would want people to hear your thoughts because you'd be spreading that love and positivity out in the world.
Well, there's a second half to that process. So you do 3 minutes or less of really being horrifically negative.
Yeah.
But then you have to fill yourself back up. So what I like to do is go stand in front of a mirror, blow myself a kiss, and remind myself of the simple facts, right? Like everything is going to be okay. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm not going to let you down. And start naming all the people in your life that are there for you. There's probably at least 30 people you could call, that would take your call and say, how can I help? Right. Yeah. So stop scaring yourself, but let go of the negativity and then fill yourself back up. Now, why don't people do this? Because it requires self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right. We have to be aware. Oh, I'm on a negative feedback loop. Maybe I should take a moment, have a breath, and stop this.
Don't you think? I mean, I love all of this. Thank you for those amazing exercises. And I really hope that everyone listening or watching takes advantage of it, because I think it's terrific. It really is. And I'm curious as to the piece about personal responsibility and taking things away from blaming other people, but really saying, okay, like in my lens about wishing, of course, it is about manifestation. It is about positivity and focus. It's also about action and stepping back and saying the only person that is responsible for making your wishes come true is you. And you actually have everything you need inside of you to make them come true. But that is really that space of saying, no, really, truly, it's up to you. So we can sit in a relationship or in a circumstance and be like, it's not fair, blah, 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 blah. But how do you awaken people to almost be excited for that journey of that accountability?
It's about understanding the paradox of the law of attraction. Right. So on the one hand, we all know you have to have clarity. What is it you're bringing in? Right. And then you have to go into action. But simultaneously, you have to be surrendered to the outcome, detached from the outcome.
Ooh.
Right. And that's what's hard.
That's the mother load.
Because it feels like a dichotomy, but it's not. Because I could say, okay, so I'm finishing a new book and my agent's about to go out and shop it. So there's a part of me that is really visualizing the right publisher and the right editor and the right deal. And so I'm in action doing, I've been in revisions for 6 months. I've been in action, trust me. Right. So on the one hand, I'm manifesting on that level. At the same time, I am at peace and in a state of neutrality, and I am surrendered and detached to what the outcome looks like. And even better, when the outcome happens. Yep. Because right now, if I had it according to my timeline, I'm 18 months late according to my initial timeline of when I thought would happen. But I can also see in the rearview mirror that the book has just blossomed and is so much more a better book because of the obstacles that came in the way. So this is the really hard part for so many people, is the divine timing of it all.
Yeah,
Not
divine
that you
timing.
can't have what it is you desire. You
So,
just can't
Arielle,
have it the moment you want it.
I love this. I love this. First of all, divine timing is such an important piece of it. I want to know, because I know that you are a lot like me. I always underestimate how long things take to launch. And I love to launch new things. But how do you personally, what is your technique when you have the thought of like, this was supposed to happen a year ago? And you find that old voice kind of coming in because, setting timelines is one type of, goal setting tool. I'm not against having timelines. I completely hear you about being non-attached to the timing and being flexible. Absolutely. But is there something personal in your technique that you do to to shift that critical voice to more of a cheerleading voice, or at least a neutral voice?
Yeah, I'm an excellent lemonade maker. Okay. So when it comes up that it's not the way I want it to be, I stop and I think, what's good about this? What's good about it? Like, for instance, if I had been on the timeline I wanted to be on, my book would have come out last June in the middle of the pandemic, which is a horrible time to bring out a new book and hard for promotion. So what a blessing that it didn't happen then, right? So that's what I go looking for. It's like, okay, I thought that it would be better if it was my way. Clearly, God has a better plan, right? And I try not to be, audacious enough to think that I know better than God.
Well, and that just highlights the gift of humility. It is a beautiful thing, humility. And I think that this notion that we're supposed to act like we know what we're doing or we know it all is actually a false. It's kind of false,
Here's where it gets even crazier. Or to think that any of this was our idea ever. Like, aren't we just the channel? Like, really, when I think about this novel that I've just completed, it came to me as a movie in my head. But who put the movie in my head? Right?
Oh, 100%.
Like, I felt I was taking dictation most of the time.
Oh, no. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I will tell you, one time look, Wishbeads was 100% downloaded to me. I had no intention of making a physical product at all. No intention. I wasn't looking for this. It just came fully formed in the download in the shower. And yet, that is the point of humility that I go back to time and time and time again. And one time I was in a situation where I felt like it wasn't in full integrity. And when I said to this other person who I thought wasn't necessarily living up to this full integrity, I said, you have to understand,
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, we've got a little music. Maybe we'll take that
I got rid of it. I thought I turned that one off. Okay.
But in that moment, I actually said to this individual, this idea came through me. I'm actually like the, I wouldn't say the protector, but almost the ambassador of this idea. So you're not actually messing with me. You're actually disturbing something that's bigger than me. So you don't want to do that.
No.
You don't want to do that. So that is the part where when I get jammed in my head and I think, I don't know what to do now, and I'm treating it like a business that I'm in control of, then I just step back and say, wait a minute, what is really the path that's in alignment with this bigger thing, this bigger mission? And it's sort of more of a dance than like a strategic plan that I need to execute.
Yeah.
It's a different flavor.
Life is so much easier that way.
It is. It should be a playful discovery, even when you're doing things like looking at Excel sheets. I mean, we have to find our way into it that keeps that vibration.
I know. I actually have a deal with anybody I do business with that I never, ever have to look at an Excel sheet.
Well, truth be told, I have an amazing person in my life, and that's her job.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I have an accountant, but I'm so not good with numbers and boxes. It's painful for me.
Yeah. I want to dive into the world of love because that is your gift and your specialty. And I get so many people telling me that they're wishing for love or wishing for a partner or wishing for all of that. Can you share just some golden nuggets talking about the law of attraction? I know this is your whole world, so it's not fair to be like, what are some great tips that you can share? But I do think that people are looking to bring more love into their lives. So is there a practical thing that people can do on a daily basis? I love the idea of in the mirror. I think that's a beautiful show self-love.
The first place to start is to ask yourself, do you really want to have big love in your life? Because lots of people say that, just like they say, I'd really love to lose 20 pounds. I'd really love to get into shape. And yet they never do anything about it. Because just like you manifest anything in your life, manifesting love requires your participation. And it needs to be your number one priority. And if you're saying, well, I'm too busy, well, that may be true. Maybe now's not the right time. But you can't do it unless you're willing to participate, because there's all these people out there that have seen way too many romantic comedies who want to meet somebody organically. That's the word they all use. I want to meet them organically. They want to have the cute meet where they're crossing the street and they trip and somebody catches them and they look into each other's eye. That doesn't happen in the real world. Okay, I study this stuff. Less than 0.5% of all the soulmates who meet and marry met through a cute meet. Okay, it doesn't happen. So you need to know, like anything you're going to manifest, first you have to have clarity. What kind of person is your soul most calling for? What are the heart traits, qualities, and values is that person going to have? Doesn't matter how tall they are, what they weigh, the color of their hair. None of that is important to your long-term happiness, right? And then once you have the clarity, well, what do you have to do to prepare yourself? Like, do you have to do anything to get yourself ready, to get your home ready, to carve out time in your calendar? Like I have people actually put in time in their calendar to go in dates weeks ahead of when they have, before they've met anybody. So that
I think that's so important, because we have this concept about our lives, but we build our lives around the activities that we like to do. And suddenly, and I know that, especially, I have friends that are older, and they've said, like, I wouldn't even know remotely how to live with someone. Like, I don't know if I'd want to live with somebody. That's different from, you can have a romantic partnership and not live with somebody. That's fine too.
Well, that's the great thing about it, is you can design it. So you can be in a long-term committed monogamous relationship and live in different cities, or you could live down the street from each other, or you could live together 3 nights a week. It's all by design. But before you go shopping for a mate, you actually need to know that. You can't make it up on the run, because you want to attract somebody who wants what you want. Because the single most critical thing to know about a successful relationship is it's made up of 5 things: connection, compatibility, clear communication, chemistry, and the single most important factor, a shared vision for the future. You both want to live at the beach. You both want to live in the mountains. You both want kids. They're like the big stuff. You don't have to be on the same page about everything. But the basics, like, I want to be in a long-term committed monogamous marriage, legal marriage, living under the same roof with somebody 24/7, like that level of clarity.
Yeah. I had a friend ages ago. I mean, she's still my friend, but we had this discussion ages ago, and it was about finding a relationship. And I asked her, because, this is during childbearing, years or whatever. And I said, so do you want to have kids? And she was like, I really don't know. And I'm not saying you have to know, but I said, when you're talking about a relationship at these critical years, it's a good thing to ask yourself to know. And when she asked herself, because I said, if you're putting out, you just want to meet anybody, but you don't know if you want kids, or it's not impossible, because you may find someone who also doesn't know, and then you figure it out together. Yeah. But when we probed a little bit deeper, she really didn't want kids, but she didn't feel comfortable saying that out loud, because the default in society is, oh, you want kids? Everyone has kids. And maybe that's changing a lot.
I always knew from the time I was 5, I didn't want kids. And on the day that I met my husband, before I knew his last name, I had already told him I didn't want to have kids. Okay. Because I didn't want to get started there. I just knew. So it is important.
But I think that's pretty wise of you at that age to have that kind of clarity. I do, because I have plenty of friends who don't want kids, but I don't think they had the confidence yet and the support that they felt to really grow up in the world and being like, I don't want kids, because the families are saying, why don't you want kids? I mean, maybe you'll change your mind. I think things are very different now. I mean, I'm turning 49 next year, but I think things are much different now for women and men. But anyway, so I think that clarity piece is really great.
The thing that I hear a lot of people say, oh, but how do you meet somebody at the age of COVID? So here's the secret. It's never, ever been easier to meet somebody than it is right now today. It's the best time on planet Earth to meet somebody because everybody's so comfortable doing video chats. And doing a video chat is the fastest way to screen somebody, to vet them.
And it's safe.
It's safe.
And
it's
cheap.
Totally safe and cheap, and you don't even have to put pants on. I've written this free online dating guide that I give away on my website. It's absolutely free. It's SOULMATESECRET.com. It's a pop-up. It's free.
Perfect.
And in this, I give you absolutely everything you need to know how to start dating online, including samples of profiles and the 3 most critical questions you ask on your first video chat, right? Because don't text. Texting's a waste of time. Don't ever spend time.
Okay, I want the 3 questions. I'm very happily married, but I want the 3
questions. So the first question is, who have you been in lockdown with? You're going to find out. You could never ask that on a first date in Starbucks. Like, are you married? Do you have kids?
Who have you been in lockdown with?
Right. So have you been alone? Have you been with your ex-partner raising, that's a very fair question.
You could meet their pets.
Exactly. Second question is, what's the best thing that's happened for you since you've been in lockdown? Okay.
Love it.
Here's the money question. What's the worst thing that's been for you since you've been in lockdown? And this is the question in which you find out really quickly if they have any emotional intelligence. Because if they tell you, oh no, it's been great, it hasn't been bad at all, pass. Okay. You can't be with a person. There's nobody alive that's been in lockdown that doesn't have some complaint about,
some revelation,
right? It restricted your freedom, or I was depressed for the first time, or I gained 20 pounds, or whatever it is. So with those 3 questions, and you have to be prepared to answer them as well. In 10 minutes, you can find out, can you dialogue with this person? And then you can have the mask question, because, if you're a person who believes in science, you don't want to be hanging out with an anti-masker, right? If you're somebody who's had the vaccine, you don't want to be with somebody. And I'm not judging one way or the other, but in the world we live in today, there are certain key things you have to be on the same page about. If you're a germaphobe, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, look, even those 3 questions, they're really great questions for anybody to reflect on where am I right now?
Yeah.
I actually love those questions. I am going to we'll post a link, everybody listening, so you can sign up and get that free dating guide in this pandemic time, which I think is quite brilliant. It's quite brilliant.
Well, what got me thinking about it was I kept hearing from, all the people who follow me. Oh, what am I going to do now? I can't date. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's like, what are you kidding? You have all this extra time. You now are up to speed on how to do all this stuff. You know how to work all your apps. Start dating.
Start dating. No, I have friends who are dating and they've loved it. They're on the sites. And they've actually, what I also really love is that they're actually making friends. They're quickly saying okay, well, maybe there's not a chemistry right now with this person romantically, but I'm so happy I met this new person. Yeah. And so, I think
that's the way to approach it. Not like I'm searching for my soulmate life partner, but could I make a new friend?
Could I make a new friend? Exactly. Lower the stakes a little bit,
right,
and not being so attached that, I love this. Of course, speaking of love, it's so good. And, we started off our conversation, so I'm going to pivot a little bit here because I want to get your take on your name, because we talked about, I tend to, I do Instagram lives every morning. And you know how when you're doing a live and people are popping in, I have noticed that I have this tendency, even though I wear glasses, and you're like talking and trying to lead a coherent conversation, and then people's names are popping in, and then you want to greet them. But I realize that I'm butchering names, like the names are kind of a little bit crazy. So when we started, I actually had to confirm how to say your name. Is it like Ariel, like the one, from Little Mermaid? And Arielle, which is gorgeous. And then, of course, I wanted to know the meaning of your name. So I want to hear that story because I believe that our names have a sort of special energy to them. And I want to talk about that as it relates to the law of attraction and as it relates to sort of the energy that you put out into the world. So tell us about the meaning of your name.
Well, what happened was the name I was born with was Linda Barbara Fishbein. And when I was 6 months old, my father changed our last name from Fishbein to Ford because we lived in an anti-Semitic part of the country, and he wanted to have a more Goyish name, so it became Ford. And then as I grew up, Linda was, I think, one of the most popular names of my generation. And when I went to college, there were 16 Linda Fords at the University of Florida. And I only knew this because when I went to the infirmary, I saw the list and like, well, which Linda Ford are you? So all my life, I played with having different names. I always wanted to change my name, but I didn't know what. And then about 27 years ago, I heard this woman speaking about the Aborigines in Australia and how when an Aborigine child is born, it's given a name. But when the child is 4, the child gets to tell the community what name it wants to be called.
Wow.
I'm a little older than 4, but I want a new name. And as I was thinking about it, I thought, my sister had just had a baby and the whole family was coming to town for the bris and everything. And I thought, well, since they picked my original name, they should be part of the process of picking my new name. So we all gathered in this room and I had this gigantic book of baby names. It was a really thick book. And I was sort of dancing between Sydney or Zoe. I liked both of those names. And my father said, no, I could never have a daughter named Zoe. And my sister said, oh, I could never have a sister named Sydney. And the conversation wasn't getting anywhere. And finally, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to let God pick out my name. And I said, okay, everybody, I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to open the book. I'm going to point to a name. And whatever name I point to, even if it's Ralph, that will be my name. And I went, Arielle. And then my stepmother who was there said, oh, that's great because you like to swim with dolphins and she'd love the whole idea. And then I was talking to my friend Mary Ann and I told her I was changing my name to Arielle. She said, well, have you checked the numerology on it? What's the spelling? Because you want to be at the right vibration. So through the numerology, we came up with Arielle as the spelling of my name. And then I legally changed it. And my sister always said that from the time I changed my name, my personality became much more outgoing and I developed a really good sense of humor.
There's so many things I love about this story. There's so many things. But what I really am noticing, as we sort of also getting to know one another even more, is that you are someone who literally co-creates your life in a major way. And that kind of like flexibility and championing, is that the right word? Of your own destiny is so inspiring. And what I also love about it is that it's breaking through so many concepts, really breaking through. So the idea that you have like at a very young age, gave yourself permission to be like, I have an idea. And somehow you orchestrated almost energetically people to be in alignment with that idea. Instead of sometimes I find that if people want to do something different, the first thing is, oh, what are people going to say? What are people going to say? And I don't know why that is. Maybe they're afraid of having to examine their own life and look at their own choices and God forbid have to change their own lives. I don't know what that reaction is, but you embody this, which is so exciting. It's really cool.
I think I'm just fortunate. I never really cared what other people had to say about me. I was very rebellious that way. I just do things my way, and I still pretty much don't care what they say. I do have to say I've really tempered myself on social media because the cancel culture really frightens me. So I'm not as opinionated as I used to be.
Yeah.
I still have my opinions. I just don't share them anymore. For the
No,
most
it's true. It's a different vibe. I mean, you always have to be mindful of the world that we live in. But when you talk about those decisions as it relates to your own destiny, we don't have to share all of our opinions everywhere. That's not a requirement. But it is to be to embrace the power of your own agency, I think is really exciting because it opens up the possibility of, again, tapping into that field and saying, how do I want to feel? And one of the first exercises that we do at the Wish Workshop, which is a new course that I just launched, was I asked people about the meaning of their name. And that first day when we were sharing, we were kind of getting to know one another because my name, Alexa or Alexandra, means defender of mankind, which I think has been like my jam since forever. But I was surprised of how many people, maybe 25% of the people felt like they didn't like their name or they had an issue with their name or something about their name never felt right, but not one of them changed their name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I did. Well, the thing that made it easier was I was moving from LA to San Diego. And I figured if I was ever going to do it legally, that would be the time because I didn't know anybody in San Diego, So there's, and my sister was so brilliant in the way she told me, well, you better have the whole family involved in the process or they're never going to comply. So that was really helpful too. It's just so it's super easy to change your name legally. It's like, a form and you have to do a couple little things that hardly costs anything at all. I highly recommend it.
So awesome. It's so awesome. Well, I have to tell you, I am so excited to talk to you. I'm a big fan of your work and I'm so touched that you have supported Wishbeads and, just personally and just, and really get what I'm doing. I feel like that's fantastic. And I'm so happy that the people listening or watching can get your amazing resources. And again, all of those links are going to be in the show notes. But also for people just listening right now, how can people find you, whether you're on social or your website or all the free resources that you mentioned?
Super easy to find. My website is SOULMATESECRET.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm at Instagram at Arielle Ford 44, and I'm at Twitter at Arielle Ford. So I'm pretty much easy to find, and I send out a weekly newsletter every Tuesday. And basically, I just keep my life really simple. I have a mission. My mission is to help people find love, keep love, and be love. And the finding love is the easy part. The keeping love is all the work, and the being love is a minute-by-minute choice.
Well, I love that too. So yeah, in the world of wishing, the world of manifestation, there is hope and inspiration, and there's a little bit of hustle. And that's what actually makes life super interesting. So whether you're looking for love or you're looking for your career or your ideal home or optimal health or all of that, so many of these principles can be applied to anything you absolutely want. So I'm excited to dive in even more to your world and your work. And I'm so happy that you just show up in the world with so much inspiration and actually practical. It's not woo-woo. It's like where woo-woo meets science. And you have to try it in order for people to see what this is about.
The law of attraction is both an art and a science, and to embrace it that way and hold it and balance it because, there's no guaranteed 100% like in gravity, but what you can be guaranteed is if you keep thinking those negative thoughts, you are going to wish them into reality. So whether, if you don't practice the law of attraction intentionally, you're really harming yourself.
I agree. And there's a lot of misinformation about it, making think like you just do a vision board once and stick it up on the wall and then go back to doing what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's all of it. That's why I said I'm still studying. I am still this day. because it's very slippery. Even though the basic principles you could put on 10 pages or less,
Sure.
the grasping of it and the reminding, like I remind myself every day, it's like, oh, what was that thought? Let's see if we can replace that thought with something just a little bit more powerful and more positive, because, we're human.
Yep. Yeah, it's so true. Oh, I have so enjoyed our conversation. I adore you and your work, and I'm so honored that you shared this time with the Wishbeads listeners. And I'm excited to learn more.
Thank you. Thank you. This was so fun.
Now, I sincerely hope that you enjoyed all that love and conversation. And if you are looking for more inspiration, then by all means, pick up a copy of my book, Wishwork. Go ahead and make sure to sign up for a virtual wish circle. We host them every single month at wishbeads.com, and come and wish with us, because your wish, your ability to wish, is inside of you right now. You actually have everything you need. But if you are looking for more support, a reminder of your wish, obviously Wishbeads jewelry is there for you. If you are looking to find your soulmate, then by all means, grab Arielle's free resources on her website. If you are looking to wish in community, please join us at a wish circle. And if you're looking to go even deeper, then be sure to check out the Wish Workshop, which is an online course that I'm offering. So you're doing the wish work with me by your side, plus a community of unbelievable wish warriors to do a little more self-discovery, do a little more of recognizing how creative you are, how confident you are, how supported you are to take action towards your biggest hopes, dreams, and goals. You got this, my friend. This is the Summer Lovin' Edition, and I am wishing you nothing less than having your wishes come true. Thanks for tuning in.